Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and this is just the first impressions on the new Ochs knife. Now, I believe this is done by REATE, and it is extremely well done. We're going to go through it, but first I do want to say it reminds me of the Tucson TS81, and I don't mean that in a bad way. The milling on it, it is so similar, just like, and I don't have the Tucson TS81, but from what I remember, the similarities with all this milling, and it just reminds me of it so much. It's a personal thing. I'm not saying it's like it in any way, just the milling. Now, the inlay is a micarta inlay that is seamless. It is so good. I mean, it is so well fit in there. There is no seam at all, and it looks really good. It feels really good. Like I said, you don't feel no transition whatsoever, but you do feel this milling all over it, which is pretty cool. Now, the flipper tab is a very minimal flipper tab. No jimping except for on the face of it, which I don't know why there's jimping there, but no jimping on the deployment part of the flipper tab, but fantastic detent. Smooth on the drop, not fall shutty, but a little shake, a little shake shutter. It'll shake pretty good with just a little bit of shaking. A little shake action or a little wrist pop, it'll slap right down. But it's not fall shut, which is fine. It is incredibly smooth. But the detent for such a little flipper tab, extremely well done. You just break that detent and it flies. Very snappy detent. And that was me trying to fail it right there. So if I attempt it, it's going to snap open extra hard. M390 hollow ground modified sheep's foot blade. Such a good blade shape. And it is a hollow ground blade. It has a dual satin. So we have the satin on the spine. And then we have a separate satin with the hollow. Great looking grind. The swedge on top looks really good. Somewhat of a stout blade stock thickness. The tip is also nice and acute, yet stocky enough to where you're not gonna have to worry about chipping it or anything. And since it's a hollow, it gets down to a relatively thin edge. The ergos, not the most comfortable. We'll get into that in a second, but it's fine though, because this is not a large knife or anything like that. It's not a hard use knife. It is just an EDC knife. The lock bar, it has the chamfers on the inside, but it's still pretty easy to disengage. The detent is early enough that you can get past it without struggling. Nice and centered. Lockup is rock solid, and even if I slowly lock it up, it still reliably locks up. We have a steel lock bar insert, so it's steel on steel contact. And with the ergos, I just feel the clip quite a bit. That's it. The clip stands up pretty tall, as you can see, and it's not a large knife, so you don't have a huge handle to hang on to. So I'd prefer the clip than no clip, so it's not a big deal at all. And you have this choil to choke up, and right here it's pretty comfortable. And in these grips for utility cuts and the way you're really going to be using the knife, it is nice and comfortable. So just purely in this grip back here, that's where I feel the clip. So not a big deal and not a deal breaker whatsoever. Hardware, really good quality hardware. I mean, that's REATE for you. REATE does really good hardware. And that's one of the things that really told me that it was REATE, aside from this beautiful inlay work. I hope I'm not wrong, and it's not. And it's another company, but I'm pretty positive I'm right. I'll put on the screen if I'm wrong, and then I'll look like an idiot. But we have a regular stop pin with a shouldered lockup. It does have a nice clicky sound. I'm specifically talking about the deployment. On the drop, and when it closes back up, it has almost a vibration sound, which is still satisfying. This milling is so heavy. And again, I don't know why they put jimping on the back of the flipper tab, because it doesn't do anything in the open position. So, I guess they just put it there just to do it. Backspacer does have a lanyard hole back here. I could take it or leave it, but I can technically reverse flick it, but I doubt anybody else will be able to. It's not easy at all. So it is primarily only a flipper deployment. Small knife, medium-sized knife. But REATE does a really good job with their heat treat on their M390, at least as far as the ones I've tested. And it did come with a pretty good edge. I feel one little nick right here, but that's probably from use. But aside from that, aside from this little microchip right here, it has a really good factory edge. Nice and bitey, has a lot of bite. And this is a good looking knife. I really love the look of this blade shape because this is such a useful blade shape. Now, the clip I haven't carried it much. This is only a first impressions, but it went in and out of the pocket just fine. Now, it doesn't have a lot of spring to it. So if you have something really thick, it might not be the best and it kind of bends it upward. But just in and out of regular jeans, it worked just fine. No issues at all. When it's closed, I don't feel I don't touch the blade or anything like that. There's really no complaints, really. If I'm really going to be nitpicky, you know, there's not much to nitpick, I'll be honest. It's done extremely, extremely well. The only real nitpick I could come up with, like just right off the bat, is like this opening right here. There's a little opening down there. Let me grab another knife. This little opening right here could possibly get dirt and stuff underneath it, but you can always just remove it with the 2 screws. This side is glued in. This side has screws. So I don't know why one has screws and one's glued, but either way, the point is that dirt can get under there, and you know you'd have to take it out and clean it. The other little tiny nitpick would be maybe some lock bar access would be better, but it's not hard. It's not like it's difficult to disengage, so you know I don't want to complain about something just because. But really, you know, anything I could, you know, pick at is going to be extreme nitpick. Now, like I said, it's not the most comfortable in the hand, but, you know, it's not really made for that. It's made for just, you know, a basic EDC. Well, let me be clear. Premium basic EDC. It's not trying to be a work knife, a hard use knife, a lightweight knife, or anything like that. Just a great quality EDC knife. And I do like Eric Ochs' designs. I've always liked his designs. I've only had a couple of them in, but the ones I've tried have been awesome. So there you guys go. Just a quick first impressions. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.